Hi, my name is Sarah Jacobson, and I'm the Director of Dance Education at Arts for All Wisconsin. I am also the lead teaching artist for dance. I've been teaching dance for many, many years, and I've been teaching about 15 years to individuals with disabilities. The majority of my work being with neurodiverse youth and those with developmental disabilities. However, I had not had as much experience working with wheelchair dancers, so when Martha approached me about doing some movement together, I was very, very excited, and so this is a wonderful opportunity for some professional development. Over to you.
Thank you. No, this is exciting. My name is Martha Siravo, and I'm with Wheels and Heels. It's a nonprofit adaptive dance organization that I created because I love dancing, and I'm a wheelchair user, and we do not have a lot of programs like that out there. And working with Arts for All has really created a lot of unique opportunities. I've been a dancer for about 5 years. I came into it later as opposed to having a lot of professional background. To be a little bit more open, I do have a spinal cord injury of C6-7, and just been learning a lot over the past few years because dance is not as prominent in our area as it is over in Europe. And so this is a really amazing opportunity for two artists from very different backgrounds to kind of come together and create some really neat content that we can not only show with local performances, but we can put it out there and let people appreciate it through social media and create more of their own and just be inspired by the things that we've been very blessed to have been able to do together. So we've prepared a video to kind of do a little walkthrough today. Pausing here, we're in our one of the very first studios that we started in, and all studios were very different.
Yeah, this one didn't have mirrors, which we definitely found a challenge. It did, however, have mats, some nice padded mats, so that was very useful later on when we were doing some of our more acrobatic kind of work. We had a lot of people walking past the window while we were practicing, so it wasn't ideal, but the floors were very nice, and we made it work.
Mm-hmm. There's a nice space to have a little bit more open concept to check out what does movement mean and things like that, which we'll also go into a little bit later in the videos. But this was just kind of the first setup. I don't think any of the movements we came up ended up in the same order with the finished routine as we explored them together along the way.
Yeah, definitely.
If we keep going.
This is the beginning of our dance.
I love the beginning. Let's pause here again and talk about this.
Yeah, so as you can see, I'm wearing my shoes. Often when I do this style of dance, I don't wear shoes, but because of where my foot is placed, we were practicing this lean, and to be perfectly honest, my foot was getting trampled, and so when the chair would like lean into me, my foot was sometimes getting caught under the chair. So partly it was to protect my foot, but also it helped stabilize. I think it helped stabilize you more, you say?
Well, I think it's interesting to talk about like what's on our feet, because I could wear whatever I wanted to and it wouldn't matter because my feet are not on the floor. But I am attached to my chair, so the whole chair is in movement with me. And the leaning that you see, we usually get about 3 to 4 inches in the air. And I had forgotten that you had started off without any shoes.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal.
Yeah. It's like, ouch. No, not doing that.
But holding this particular pose, holding the arms, you also have to watch like what our heads are doing, because when you're in dance, like your whole body is supposed to, there's like purpose to almost every single piece that you're looking at. And I think
that's when why not having the mirror was
yeah. And going through here, you're going to see maybe my head not look quite the same as it is here. We ended up finding out that aesthetically, when we did have a mirror, looking down and towards Sarah was actually of a benefit, not only for where the weight distribution was for leaning, but just looked really nice too, as opposed to me trying to keep my head more out of the way.
Right.
And here we want to go, I think we'll pause again.
Oh, here it is again. Yeah. It's showing it on the other side, but more of a lean now. So you can really see how my foot is, because that's the other thing. I think you were locked in. You had the brakes on.
That was another thing we had to figure out. Did it work better with the brakes on or off? Did I have time to take the brakes off during that particular movement? And during the first, 10, 15 seconds, my hands actually don't really touch the wheels, completely dependent on my partner's movement in order to get around and to make movement. It was all partner based at this point. And there we go. And your stance was particularly, see, there's the head movement. Yeah. Just to point out, see, our heads are in different places. And I think that's the difference, because the first video that we have in here is after we had done this a few times.
Yes.
And so heads were down and we looked very much in sync. As opposed to here, the leaning was longer, but I also don't think we look very connected because our heads are not connected in a similar fashion. So yeah, that's what you need mirrors for and all the things.
Yeah, this was a smaller space to work in. We had to push furniture out to the sides, and we really were getting quite creative. It's a bit of an improvisation session.
It was a small community room, but the flooring was ideal. And when we first started working together, it was kind of in the winter time, and we all love Wisconsin in the winter because you never know what's going to go on outside and what logistically is going to be available. So this is actually in the community room.
I feel like this was quite a creative session, though. This was because it made us work in a different way. So.
Yeah, I think there were some stories or some movements that kind of grew beyond this session.
Definitely.
Because the next piece that we're going to look at here is something that didn't make it towards the end, but.
Oh wait, I'll go back a little bit so you can see just that bit that we were talking about.
The goal was I was supposed to be a little bit more. I was supposed to be giving you energy.
Yes. But this movement came from it, and then the idea to
we can pause
me on the chair. Yeah.
And so this is traveling was one of the big pieces that we talked about, because pushing a wheelchair and walking. And being doing things stylistically, what do we call it? With arm styling is a thing too. So you don't want to I'm just going to push my chair over here.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm going to push my chair over there. Yeah. And then Sarah has arms and leg movement to be considered on how are you going to make it into the next place. And how fast do we need to go?
Yeah, so I really had to think about, for me, I was just going and swinging my arms, but then I had to take into account that Martha was propelling the chair forward and had to add the arm movement onto that. So then I had to adjust what I was doing so that we matched as we went across the floor. So maybe my arm swing took a little bit longer than it normally would to allow Martha to push and then raise her arms.
I think we worked on that.
Quite a lot.
Yeah, very. Yeah, it was a lot of pieces. But I think it was one of the beginning pieces that when you're doing it, it feels awkward. But then when you watch it back on video, it's just very satisfying to see.
Turns came out of that. I feel like that it evolved.
I think that was one of the first pieces. And so this is also in that same room.
Yep. With no errors.
Here's the turn.
Yep, this is working on turns.
And that was what do we do after the travel? Because we wanted to get to a certain space. We have a pause or when you get back in the frame.
Here we go.
It's like height is a thing because I'm always short. And I think you're tall. Coming from a 4-foot person. But when we're doing the turn, when my arm is up so high, I can only reach so high in the air. And so I think during the turn, you have to still do like a little bit of ducking. But you can dance however you want. But
that was one of the biggest learning opportunities for me, is understanding how I could assist with turns too. Like, I didn't realize how much pressure I had to give Martha to help us turn together and stay together. Like if I didn't give each other that pressure, then we would tend to like drift apart or like not turn in the direction we wanted to so much.
Or that you also had to be grounded.
Yes.
In your space too.
Yes.
Like if your arm moves, that means that I'm going to lose movement. But at the same time,
I don't want to.
If my arm does not stay in the spot, I might accidentally
knock me off balance.
knock you off balance, knock myself up. Like,
so yeah, we had to be very in tune and connected all the time, especially when we started dancing on different surfaces and different size stages.
Yeah, the ground texture absolutely matters. I think this is going to be the turn again. So I think we had finished part of the beginning piece, and we're trying to figure out what do we do
out of that turn.
Or it just might have been the traveling. Like we didn't want to travel the entire time. How do we? Oh yeah, because you were thinking about crossing in front of me, and we didn't. We ended up doing that. That ended up making it into the routine at the very end. It did. But it didn't look like that. Here we go.
So yeah, this was definitely play. We were like, okay, what happens when we?
Once you flip over to the other side, we should give it a pause for a second.
What happens when we look at this from a completely different perspective?
Literally. And you never touched the floor during that entire time. You're literally walking on the different chair structures to get to where you're at there.
This was our acrobatic phase, for sure. This is also where the mats came in handy at the gym.
And I did have my feet tied at this point, which ended up happening later in order to keep my feet from coming. So I have a C6-7 spinal cord injury, and so I also do not have movement like below mid-waist down. And so if I'm tipped backwards like that, even though I'm attached to the chair with like a seatbelt, my knees are still mobile. Let's go here. You can see where my knees are a little bit more towards my chest, but we ended up adding another leg strap so that they didn't do that anymore, and we stayed in better position.
This is also where we learned how to end our dance.
Flip the chair,
which was interesting.
Yeah, that's the weight distribution.
Exactly. Yep.
And this made it into the final cut too, because we had to figure out how do we get up.
How do we finish? This is where the pieces finally coming together. Oh, yep, some more playing. I mean, yeah, we had a lot of fun, but it was.
You could pause here.
It was definitely. That's how we learned. It's through the play.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so in dance too. Now we're kind of getting to. One of the videos that we just saw was dress rehearsal because I was in the studio with the costuming on. And then literally here, this is how the piece starts with those particular pieces on. And you're really able to see the arms and the tops in our faces a whole bunch. And then we both have black leggings on, and everything has hints of sparkle built into it. Yes.
I think we did try to keep it very simple too, because we really just wanted to bring across. I think this piece is evolved, so it was really like the journey of how our movement together developed. But when we heard the music, we felt like the music told the story as well. So,
in particular, the title,
it's the intro. So it is the introduction to this work together, and I think we wanted the costumes to reflect that too. It's just very simplistic, and this dance just really tells the story of us coming together as artists, I think. And this is what it is to me.
Yeah. Oh, when you wear costuming, when you have the whole piece put together, I think your eyes have to. They're going to naturally focus on particular pieces too. And I always thought it was interesting how this actually keeps the eyes will stay up here on the top for the most part.
Yeah. Because
it's very distinctly sticking out from the rest of the costuming, but there's a lot going on when it goes through. And do we want to talk about stages? This stage was particularly small.
Yeah, so this one was small. The other stage you'll see is on, that one actually had a slant, and we didn't realize till we got there.
This one, I think we had two maybe a foot or two only in front of us.
Yep, front and behind. So turns were particularly difficult because we had to make sure we stayed within that space. And there's one part where Martha moves backwards. It made me a little nervous. But yeah, so this is where there was the slant on the stage.
And this is off a TikTok video because social media is fun. And we got to capture a lot of movements. You want to pause at one of? Yep. You can do it in here, actually. This is a great spot to pause. So the one that we just saw, like I said, that one is on TikTok because I made it because I used a lot of still shots, but the still shots were in movement. Mm-hmm. So we were able to highlight a lot of the really cool moments that happened during the dance. And then if we're looking at this piece, I actually think you should talk about what we didn't do this yet. About standing on the chair.
Yeah, so this is recorded from the side of the stage, but this shows, so we kind of played around with what it was like. I mean, even before this, I had a go at dancing in the chair too, so I could understand what it was like from Martha's perspective. So, we had a whole session where I was in a chair as well. And then so that I could understand, for example, the traveling across the floor, exactly what she was saying, where she needs the time to propel before lifting her arms, just understanding what a turn felt like. And here we were like, well, then what happens if I stand on the chair? And we kind of play around with that. So I think that was kind of interesting and a pretty cool visual.
I'll say probably depending on who you're dancing with, that experience is going to be different. Mm-hmm. If you can pause it one more time before we get to the end, is that when you're working with an artist who has their own wheelchair, that wheelchair is going to be interesting and unique to the user. And we found out that standing directly on top of the casters was not ideal, right? Because it makes both casters very heavy, and they were unhappy about that. So standing on the foot plate in the front was the most ideal, but then I had to make sure my feet stayed together.
So I had a place to stand.
Yeah. And all foot plates are different. And so right now my foot plate is a little bit larger with extra room. Right. So we were able to do it because of that. But if we didn't have that to work with, we might have done it.
Yeah.
We would have had something else in there. And so the last part of this video is going to get into.
And I remember that bit too. I had to really almost squeeze against the chair with my knees to keep me in place, so that when we were turning that I could let go. Otherwise I couldn't let go. So that was kind of interesting. I was like, okay, now I have to brace against the chair so that we can do that rotation. So that was a learning experience for sure.
The rotation itself, if I went too fast, then we weren't quite where we needed to be. We ended up a little bit ahead towards the end, but we were able to modify that. But I think the whole standing on it, letting go, and letting me be in charge of movement was just also an interesting concept.
Yeah. There were definitely places where I had to I think we both had to decide who was going to lead who, and how that would make the movement easier for both of us.
If you watch it, it goes back and forth, I think, through the whole piece.
Yeah, there's a lot going on that the audience might not be aware of. And this is the end of the dance.
Which goes into the acro that we were working on. It built a lot from the very beginning.
Mm-hmm. This is our most acrobatic part.
This particular thing was interesting though too, because remember we tried it a few different ways, and then so it was, what do I need to do with my shoulders? Which I wasn't really sure. So luckily, she's like, just drive your shoulders into the floor, and because that way you can keep your arms straight. And then there was a little bit of weight distribution on your end where I'm not holding you completely by myself, because some of the weight distribution is over the wheelchair.
Correct.
And so where your hands are over the chair takes half of the work of that, and then I take some of it. So it probably looks like I'm doing more work than I actually am.
I think the biggest thing was making sure you were centered too, that the arm didn't go out. And I had to really make sure that when I stood on Martha's hand, that she was very much centered, and so that I didn't drive her arm out to the side.
Yes. If my shoulder was not in the right place, it was all about where the shoulder was on the ground.
Our ending pose took we had different versions of that, but we landed on this one in the end.
Well, the part that you go up into here where your leg is going to be in a specific spot. I'm not going to give it away. But we start off in one pose and then transition into the other. And I think the second pose, which ended up being the final pose, you have one of your knees bent. So like when we get down to this part and let it play through, we ended up having you bend your leg. Do you remember why?
I think it just looked more pleasing visually. And also I felt more grounded. Like I felt like I could lean into the chair more, I think.
Yeah, because you were no longer in like a plank.
Yeah.
And then I could actually
And then it
mimic.
freed you up a little bit to be able to move as well.
Yeah. And having the white tops on both arms, I think really even accentuated those last and final arm movements that we were mirroring each other again, because we were sitting exactly the same at the very beginning also. But we ended up in a very unconventional position at the very end. So do you want to?
Yeah, it was a great experience. Yeah. And I definitely learned a heck of a lot from it. So thank you.
We should let's treat him to the final part of it.
Okay.
It's like one of my favorite pieces too. It's like the highlight. Okay. Love that part. And then I hold onto your chin. Let go.
That's a wrap.
Love it.
For more information about adaptive dance opportunities, visit www.artsforall.org/program/dance or www.facebook.com/Wheels and Heels Adaptive Dance.